people, stay dandy, baby. Will Nagatoro break Naoto of his introverted ways? Only time will tell in another ridiculous, over-the-top, hilarious episode of Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro. We're going to be talking about 2 episodes today, and both of them I thought were equally fascinating in 2 completely different type of ways. First and foremost, for a show which is basically all about a girl who bullies a person that she basically has a crush on, it's amazing how heartfelt the series actually manages to be. But episode 5 is surprisingly heartfelt in a number of ways, if only for the fact that the series is doing a pretty good job of actually showing these 2 characters get much closer with one another, and you can actually feel like a genuine relationship building between them. And I think that's really good considering that the show a lot of the times can go into some very venomous and malicious material with the way that Nagatoro actually treats Senpai, but there are some moments here that honestly just, hit me in the ball feels. The first half of episode 5 is essentially all about Nagatoro's annoyingly stupid friends, and there's not much redeeming quality to them. They're just annoying as all hell, and they basically want to cut Senpai's hair because, it's just going out of frickin' control. They forcibly try to trim his hair, which really ends up pissing off Nagatoro, but luckily she's able to scare them away, which is, again, another hilarious scene and filled to the brim with tons of great character expressions. But this is another one of those moments that demonstrates that she's getting so much closer to Senpai and getting more comfortable with him, which is a funny thing to say because you almost expect it to be reversed, where he would barely want to be with her, but the fact of the matter is, despite the airs that she's putting on and being kind of, malicious towards him, she's also very nervous to be around this guy and doesn't want to admit her true feelings. But for her to casually cut his hair and not completely ruin it and do it with good intention shows how far that she's actually willing to start to express herself just a little bit in how she interacts with her senpai. And like I said, it's surprisingly heartwarming. But then shit gets hot, and I don't mean that type of hot. I mean like literal hot, like it's summer in Japan and everybody's melting. So there's this really great second half of the episode, which is pretty much all about Senpai and Nagatoro as they're walking around the streets of Japan and they want to get some shaved ice, which again, I've never had in Japan. I've never been to Japan, so I've definitely never had it. But I can associate it with something like a snow cone, just on a completely different level, and I really want to frickin' try it. But the fact of the matter is, they try to go to this famous place, which basically has a line going around the block, and they end up waiting there for a very long period of time. And it's in these small moments that you get to see how dedicated they are, not only to their friendship, but to each other in a lot of really small ways. One of them being the fact that Nagatoro is basically about to have a massive heat stroke, and she's sweating profusely, and there's even a scene where like the back of her shirt is so soaked in sweat that you can actually see her bra, and these 2 guys are ogling her, and Naoto manages to jump in the way, essentially showing how protective he actually is of his friend, despite the fact that he doesn't really want to say that out loud. But as it looks like Nagatoro is about to pass out, he actually ends up helping her by making her escape from the line and getting her under a tree with something to drink. Nagatoro decides to reciprocate this by getting them some ice cream, and it's a nice bonding moment between the characters, which luckily is not interrupted by any of her stupid friends. It's a nice, genuine moment between both of these characters, and I dare say maybe the most human moment that I've seen from the entire series. And again, it's another one of those things that really makes it feel realistic. Like these 2 characters really are trying to work it out. They're trying to start a true, genuine relationship with one another. The problem is they both don't quite know how to express their feelings, with Nagatoro being, of course, very extroverted, but not quite knowing what to say, and of course Naoto never knowing what to say at all because he's so inexperienced in everything else. But then we come to the next episode, which as far as I'm concerned is the best episode of the entire series, if only for the fact that it's easily the most interesting. Most of the episodes before this have been very samey, where they've mostly taken place in just a few of the same locations, that being the classroom and the art room. Here, we finally get to venture out into a lot of different interesting areas. Of course, we have the beach part of the episode, which is pretty standard stuff, but it's the opening of episode 6, where we get to see that essentially this is the episode that pokes fun at the isekai genre. If for some odd reason you don't know what isekai is, it's basically a normal person gets transported to a fantasy world and they go on a crazy adventure. And that's basically what happens here, with Senpai being sent to this weird, magical fantasy realm, and even in his dreams, he doesn't really have the confidence to do anything. And he ends up going to this very stereotypical fantasy world, which seems it's heavily based on everything from Dragon Quest to Final Fantasy. Even the music cues when they're having like battles against monsters is distinctly Dragon Quest. quest. But it's really great because basically all of the main characters that we've seen so far in the series have been given these fantasy-like personas, with of course Senpai being transformed into the titular wizard and mage character, but then you have Nagatoro, who is a half-human, half-cat girl, Nekotoro, who is really great at martial arts and is really just like, a perfect example of her personality, being over the top, crazy, and having tremendous amounts of energy. And basically the entire episode is, again, just kind of like a parody of these video games, these RPGs, these isekai anime, of going around a world, having adventures, fighting against monsters, meeting new party members. The other party members, of course, end up being Nagatoro's stupid freaking friends, Gamo and Yoshi. And I did think it was really funny that Yoshi actually hatches from an egg. I don't know if this is some sort of reference to the Mario version of Yoshi and the fact that she has the same name, but nice touch. I really like that, especially in a video game kind of setting. But of course, we do learn that this is all some sort of big, giant, ridiculous dream, especially by the end of the episode when Nagatoro and all of their friends transform into demonic versions of themselves. Senpai wakes up and hilariously he's in the restaurant doing his summer homework, which really isn't summer homework at all. It's basically him just drawing a lot of ridiculous pictures of Nagatoro as a cat girl. Of course, she ends up finding this and has a lot of fun with that, and hilarity ensues. The next half of the episode is your titular beach episode. It goes exactly the way that you expect, with Nagatoro dragging Senpai out to the beach with all of her friends for all sorts of shenanigans. And like I said, this is probably one of the more standard things that I've actually seen from the series. But again, it ends with such an amazingly heartfelt moment that I have to talk about it. But pretty much all of the cliches are here, with the girls wearing their swimsuits, him ogling them, not knowing what to say, them swimming, him doing nothing, and then a really funny scene where she offers to put some sunscreen on him, and like the big dumb idiot that he freaking is, he doesn't really want to accept it at first, especially when she says she's going to be gentle. But no, he rejects her, saying that, well, we're not exactly dating, so that would be a little weird. She ends up just stomping this stuff into him, her friends get involved, and basically he gets embarrassed. But even after all of these ridiculous shenanigans and enjoying a day with a bunch of cute girls at the beach, even Senpai has to admit he actually had a pretty good time. And the final shot of the episode where he's talking to Nagatoro on the phone, again showing how far the relationship has come. Now they're casually talking with each other on the phone, they're going to beach with one another, they're opening up to each other, and the last thing you see is a picture that he was drawing. And this time it's not a stupid picture of Nagatoro as a cat or her being sexualized, it's just her at the beach having fun and smiling. And this moment right here was just fantastic. I hate saying this because it feels like it's taking away my super manly testosterone-like card, but it was just stupid cute. So what's the rundown on the latest batch of episodes of Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro? This show can be really mean at times, but it also has a surprising amount of heart. There are moments where it can go into the realm of absolute ridiculousness, but relationships can get formed in this way. This is something that can happen between people. It might not be over the top in this crazy anime kind of way, but it's not uncommon for someone to pick on someone that they like. And the way that they've been doing it the last couple of episodes has felt surprisingly natural and realistic. And that's what I think is really great about this show. These characters who have the most insane expressions in a setting which feels kind of real at times. And it makes me want to root for these characters a little bit more. And that's saying a lot because at the beginning, I hated Nagatoro's guts. Couldn't stand her. The first episode, I wanted her dead. Now, I'm rooting for this relationship to blossom into some kind of thing, but I have a feeling just the fact that it's based on a long-running manga and that this season is probably going to be short, we're going to get no sort of conclusion to where this relationship could potentially go, but we are going to see it grow, and we are going to see it blossom into something kind of interesting. And if anything, I think one of the best things about the series is how subtly Nagatoro is actually trying to bring her senpai out of his shell, trying to make him a little bit less of an introvert. And that's not to say that being an introvert is bad, but if you want to have a good time in this world, you need to learn to interact and be with other people. You need to learn to communicate like a normal person, otherwise you're never going to be able to make some sort of real proper connection. And while he'll probably never change and he'll always be sort of that goofy introverted senpai, little by little Nagatoro is sort of teaching him to be the best version of his character that he can possibly be, and that's because she really likes him and she cares about him, and she doesn't want to talk about it quite yet, but you can truly see it in her expressions every single time she blushes. and it's heartfelt and it's surprisingly sweet. And then it's backed up by lots of ridiculous, raucous comedy and little moments that I think are genuinely really clever and funny. I loved the whole isekai fantasy storyline for how different it was. I liked the beach episode for the fact that we get out of the classroom setting, and then I just love little moments like the midway title cards, which look like something like on a pause screen in an old school 8-bit Final Fantasy. Even just the way that they did the ending sequence of episode 6 was all done in an 8-bit video game style, and I love little moments and things like that. It just manages to make the episode all the more entertaining. Again, both of these episodes were hilarious, awkward, and heartfelt, and I never thought that I would be saying it about a show that originally I thought was going to end up being one of the most controversial anime of the season, but I think a lot of people are actually embracing this series and its characters, despite their faults and the fact that a lot of them can basically be real assholes. But I'm actually starting to like these characters, even Nagatoro's stupid friends, but it's really Nagatoro and Naoto's relationship would sort of bring everything together in this show. And honestly, I think it's pretty good worthy material. If you're into slice of life comedy, this might be the thing for you. And considering that I'm not even really a big fan of the genre and it's actually capturing that much, I really do think speaks volumes for the show itself. It also helps that it continues to look good with very good distinctive character design and lots of interesting locales. It's a surprisingly good looking slice of life. So I liked both of these episodes, and I liked both of them for very different reasons. They weren't perfect in some senses, but I still am liking it, and I really love the whole two-story episode format because it feels like I'm just getting so much more. I'm talking about 2 episodes here, but it feels like I'm talking about 4 separate ones because the concepts just work so well. So I'm going to give both of these episodes 4 out of 5. I think there's some really solid material here, and I really liked it. I got some laughs, and I'm surprised how much it's actually affecting me on an emotional level. I think that's really cool. So there it is. That's my thoughts on the episode. I'd love to get yours, however, if you guys are watching the show. If you watched either of these episodes, I'd love to get your thoughts about it. Make sure to sound off in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching this review. Please subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one. If you did like it, smash the like button. Use your Nekotoro claws to make it happen. And I would also like to take this time to thank all of my patrons. You guys are awesome. You're really going that extra mile every month, making those monthly donations. Remember, guys, if you subscribe through my Patreon, if you make that first-time donation, I'll review an anime series of your choice, as well as adding your name to this list of amazing people that you currently see on screen. These guys are the super producers of Ace Guru. So thank you guys so much for watching this review. I'll see you all next time. And as always, stay dandy, baby.